next element we have here is 8 wastes. So we'll see here what are the 8 wastes in office area. Similarly to the production area, we can take the same acronym for all these 8 type of waste, which is downtime. Starting with D stands for the waste of defect, and O stands for overproduction, and W stands for the waste of waiting time, N stands for waste of non-involvement of employees, and T stands for the waste generated by extra transportation, and I stands for waste of excess inventory, and M stands for waste of motion, and E in the end stands for excess processing, the waste by processing more than required. So this is the acronym for 8 type of wastes. Starting with the first waste, defect. In office area, this could be entering wrong data. For example, the customer data is entered wrong address or wrong information, a wrong phone number, and that could create problem when we are doing the billing or creating bills that will not match, and that needs additional effort to correct it. So this could be the example of defect type of waste in office area. And the second waste is overproduction, means creating more data or tasks than it is required. In office area, it could be printing a lot of pages, a lot of reports than required, than the people are interested to read. It could be sending a lot of emails, a detailed information which nobody is really interested in. The third waste is waste of waiting. This could happen that an employee has to wait for previous step to perform something, and the employee is just waiting for the information or any instructions. It's the waste of time and loss of productivity completely. For example, there could be a scenario where a lot of signatures from the supervisors or the top authority is needed, and the management is not available for 1 or 2 weeks, and the employee has to wait because employee himself cannot take such decisions. So this is purely the waste of waiting for any information, for any approval. The next waste is non-utilized talent. So it means when the skill, the knowledge and the talent of the employee is not being utilized. Somebody has a very good knowledge of any process, but this knowledge is not being used, or he's not being asked for his contribution, and this means also wrong person at wrong place. Sometimes we have more qualified people at the tasks which could be done by less qualified. This means also sometimes we don't have knowledge management process at place, where the people who have a lot of knowledge, we extract the knowledge, we document the knowledge, and then we let it flow in the process so that the new employees or less skilled employee can benefit from that knowledge and work effectively. This is a really very big and hidden waste. Another sign could be if in a company there is no mentor and mentee program. So it means the knowledge and the experience of somebody who is 30 years ahead in game, who has 30-40 years of lean management experience, for example, this experience is not being transferred to the fresh engineers in lean management field, who can just get a very good head start by just being in contact with somebody who has done this for last 30-40 years. This is a waste in a company where we don't have mentor and mentee programs. The fifth waste is waste of transportation. It means when the data or the paper or the files, they are unnecessarily moving from one place to another place, one department to another department, or one table to another table, without adding any value to the original task. This could happen because sometimes we have the processes or system in which we want to over communicate for every small thing, and we need maybe a lot of approvals from one department to another. For example, if we have the document for travel expenses, it will go from one department then to the boss, then to the finance department, and before finance department has to be approved by top management, and this is purely waste of transportation of some data, some physical papers or any information. The waste number 6 is inventory. It means the excess inventory. Sometimes we have the files, the drawings, the folders which are 10 years old and they are not being used and they are just filling up the desks of the employees. So that is just excess which we don't need. And in office area, the open tasks are also seen as excess inventory. So it means the open tasks or the projects which are there but they are not being worked upon. So they are not the work in progress, but they are just waiting to be done by somebody. They are waiting to be initiated by somebody because they have seen previously 4-5 steps. Now they are waiting for the next steps. So the question is why they were initiated when we know that they cannot be completed and there is a big pile of tasks and the projects lying down the line which just increase unnecessarily the lead time of these open tasks. So this is also seen as excess inventory waste in office areas. The next waste is the waste of motion. The difference between motion and transportation or the transport is in transport the information or the data is being transported or the papers are being transported from one place to another. The waste of motion means the employees themselves, maybe because of the layout, a person has to just go from their desk to go far away for printing, then go somewhere else for approval, then go somewhere else for scanning in the office. When we have inappropriate layout, then people are wasting time. I can very well remember one lean project in which a consultant, after the analysis, he said that you can improve your productivity by 10% by putting the paper punch always at the right place. And once the consultant said this statement, all employees in the office started laughing because just putting one paper punch at the right place always, how this can improve the productivity. When he showed the data, it is not only that the people were searching for paper punch. Because of the paper punch, they were going to the multiple employees and they were discussing non-work related topics and spending time which was not adding value. So one thing triggered to the another type of waste. So if we have the proper layout, the waste of movement or the motion of the employee will be less. And in some scenarios we have seen that the meeting areas are so far away from one building to another building. This is the waste of motion of the employee. It's not only the waste of time, it's the distraction, it is the lose of focus of the employee, if this is the meaning of a waste of motion in office areas. The last waste we have here is excess processing in office area. This means putting in more effort in any task than required. The difference between excess processing and inventory is, in inventory we have open tasks, a lot of different tasks, but in excess processing we are talking about one task but doing this task in more detail and putting too much effort than it is required by the client or by the customer. It could be creating a report in too much in detail, spending too much time on color coding, on diagrams, or having discussion, a lot of discussion with a lot of people which is not required for that task. So it means excess processing than required than it should be. So it takes a lot of time. So it means generally that we are not trained to work as per Pareto or 80-20. Sometimes the tasks are like that, with just 20% effort you can achieve 80% results. And for such tasks also the people are, or the employees are going in too much detail, and that's the waste of resources. Now we have seen the 8 different type of waste in office areas. The next task is that you clearly communicate to the team that these are hidden, because the people are working for last 10-20 years. They are just doing without realizing that what they are doing is not the value adding task. Some of the tasks they are doing, these are purely the waste. If there is a in billing process defect and they have to call to the customer department, they are thinking that it is the work that they are doing in these office areas, But the reality is this is a defect if 20% of the customer orders have mistake, any error in that, and 20% of the time production planner or anybody else has to call back. So it is a lot of time waste. Maybe by any appropriate action, this 20% of the defects or questioning gain to the customer department can be completely eliminated and could save enormous amount of time. But if we do not train the office employee with these definitions that these are the tasks, they will not have these specs on to see that the tasks what they are doing, they are the waste. Either they are the waste of defect or the waiting time, where they are waiting for the drawings, because they will say, okay, this is the process, I have to wait for 2 weeks for any approval. But after this training, that this is a type of waste, we should not have this in our organization, they will come up with the ideas. One idea for the previous example, when from the customer department or the department who is responsible for taking the customer orders, they have a checklist that when a customer is calling for any orders, these are the all information we need, and this is how we have to confirm all the information so that the information is not wrong or any information is not missing. Just with the simple solution, we could completely avoid any need of calling customer again or any problem for the downstream processes. So this is a very good example how we could improve if the office employees are aware what is value adding, what is waste. The job here would be, we have now previously drawn swim lane diagram where we have all the tasks what we are doing, and now we have seen a type of waste also. And then to see in my task number 1, do I have any type of waste occurring right now? Waiting time, errors, excess inventory or anything? Yes or no? With my next step, how long I am waiting for any decision? Is it a waste here? Any of the waste? With that, you can identify in your whole process a different type of waste. Once you have identified, right there the Kaizen flashes, the improvement ideas, that okay, this is the problem here in this process, to that this is the Kaizen flash, the improvement potential, and then keep on collecting for every improvement potential separately all the ideas, and then you have a very good list of improvement ideas. And after putting these ideas in action plan, that means who will do it, how long we have to work upon it, and with that you can start on optimizing your one by one the processes. And this is how you can create the flow, that the tasks, the projects are flowing through these office area very smoothly without waiting for anything, without any defect, just coming and growing smoothly. So this is how we can improve the productivity.